Hey everyone, long time no chat live anyway. We had a new video last week, but haven't done a live stream in a while, so I figured I had a little bit of time this afternoon to take a look at it. So we will do just that. There should be a chat room next to your window, the video window, or below it, or somewhere that. So if anyone's out there, and if you can hear me, let me know. Let me know how the sound works, all that kind of stuff. Do something here, and we will get going. I don't need this stream starting soon thing anymore. Here we go. Alright, so we're going to spend a little bit more time than normal, which is something I generally do on the weekends, not so much from day to day. Spending a little bit more time looking at just kind of what's going on in the markets. I've got somewhere here a sector watch list, and we'll take a look at that. Where's sector analysis? There we go. So this is basically just your different sectors sorted long and short. You know, the tick, we don't really care about that. That's a little bit crazy. We're more looking at, and we're more interested in, just kind of what the major sectors are, right? So We can see natural gas, pretty decent move. We can see China. China's doing pretty well as well. Into telecom. Okay, and again, for anyone who doesn't know, I'll go through the little speech of my trading style, what it is I do, what it is that we do here, this type of thing. I'm just giving time for people, if anyone's going to show up, to kind of filter in. Once again, if the sound is good, let me know. If it's bad, let me know. All of that type of stuff. Pop out the chat here. There we go. So yeah, we're going to take some time. We're going to go through this sector list. We're going to talk about the SPY and the different major indexes and kind of where I think everything is, kind of where it could go from there, and then how that's going to tailor my particular trading style. So again, I'm just scanning these briefly. I want to see the ones that were up, and I want to see the ones that were down. So we'll be back with that. But once again, it looks like oil and tech seem to be doing better than, you know, finances and that type of thing, right? If we go to the broker dealers, they're doing okay, I guess, in relative to. And the best way to go through this, we'll take a look. And I'm going to expand this for this part of here. Go. Bring out my pen. So I guess I'll go through the little kind of speech now. So for anyone who doesn't know, I am generally an algorithmic trader by nature, I guess you could call it. What I do is I look for specific intraday setups. So I have some intraday algorithms written, and what they do is they say, okay, I'm going to watch whatever stocks you want to do this certain thing. So what I do each night is I build a list of stocks I want to look for in the long side and stocks I want to look at in the short side, and then I feed that into those algorithms based off of what I think is going to happen the next day, and then the bot will auto trade it throughout the day, so it doesn't need any impact by me. So generally what we'll do here is we'll look at the major market indexes. We'll go in from there and we'll look a little bit closer on you know, what we think is going to happen, or at least how the market is going to react. We'll scan for stocks. We'll check out everything that basically use trade ideas to filter all the stocks into maybe 10 long, 10 short, where I'll build that watch list live, and you guys can take it and do whatever you want with it if you want to do something with it. If I do a stream the following day, which I guess in this case would be Tuesday, I'll show exactly how everything worked the day before, and then we'll go on from there. So there was, if you go back in the channel, there was about a week and a half there where I was pretty regular. And we did a pretty good job of, okay, we're going to watch this, and then we'll go check it out. For any times that I don't do this, I generally post this list on Twitter. And I'll just post my Twitter here in the chat room below, so you can check that out. My email is also below, so if that little speech, you know, kind of went over some people's heads and they want to learn more, just fire me an email. That's right below. Same as a link for trade ideas. So SPY. Back when I was doing these fairly consistently, we were kind of hanging out in this area here. And I was mentioning the entire time that basically we were in a small base, in a large base, and until we resolved the small base at the very least, and most likely the large base, I was going to play kind of revision to the mean stuff. And I also mentioned that it almost looked a bit too good to be true up here, that we were just going to break out and move higher from here. The market tries to deny these textbook patterns, right? So a nice high base after a strong move is a simple bull flag, and you're supposed to buy the high of the bull flag and put the stop below, and away you go. The market never makes it that easy for people. So I talked about in the last couple of videos that I was talking to you guys to be careful up here, and we did have a little drop down. Whether we continue higher from there, who knows? I just wanted people to be careful there. So again, since we've been talking, we've had a attempt to break out, a little failure to break out, a gap down, and then a solid retracement of that gap down. So again, we are back within this base. That is also back within this base, and we just had a little vacation outside of it. So I'm going to keep my synopsis the same, where I'm going to look for overbought to short and oversold to buy. Things that are selling down to support, popping up to resistance, or just overstretched one way or the other. And then again, with trade ideas, I'll explain a little bit more, but you take all the stocks that you see out there, and you can filter them into a list, and then you can feed that list into an alert window, and I can say certain things like, okay, robot, if it gaps up big or down big, forget it. If it moves really big off the open, more than net general ATR, right, you probably missed the move, forget it. And only enter if you see this particular pattern that I'm looking for intraday. That's why we look for 10 stocks per side, so 20 total. And out of that, I'll probably get 5 entries. And then the other ones will either gap up too high or gap down too low or run off the open, or, they won't set up that particular pattern that I'm looking for. So that's the synopsis there. We're going to just kind of continue on moving, looking for support and resistance and that type of thing, because we're just seeing more chop. The other thing to keep in mind is that whole sell in May and go away and all that stuff is crap. But what's not so much crap is just the choppiness of summer, right? If we go into the Qs here, all right, if we go, where would be last summer? Yeah, so 7, 8, 9 in through this area, and then even into the end of last year. Just less traders, less decisions being made. This summer may be completely different with everything going on in the world. Everything going on in America. This week and last, it seemed like there was a different bombshell being dropped every day. So that might change things. But generally speaking, summers are pretty chill just because there's less people around. So one thing to note, right, when we were talking about the SPY, we were talking about a little base and then a big base, right? Whereas this has just been a straight up trend with a little bit of pullback, right? So that tells us that obviously tech leading this market has no surprise to anyone. It's been doing it the whole time. If we're into IWM, the small caps, right, you can see that, again, I'll draw, this is what the SPY looked like. It was basing like this and a base like this. And this, you can see, has actually been downtrending a bit. And then we'll just look. Is that Chrysler or is that, yeah, diamond. So, and you can see with the diamonds or the Dow, it's a little bit more pronounced down. So tech is leading, energies, let's look at energy, let's look at USO. Right, energy's been okay. Gold's probably pretty opposite to that. Yeah, gold's been doing okay. After this pullback, and this pullback would be when the SPY was moving higher to base. So all pretty typical stuff, but we just know that the first big thing to watch is tech. If tech really starts breaking, then the rest may break also. So now that we have our synopsis, right, I generate a general idea of what I think the market's going to do. It's time to zoom in on individual stocks. So let me bring this over. And again, to all the people that are out there, if anyone is watching, TradeIdeas.com, you can click on account and it will bring you up to this list here, right? And in here under symbol lists, you can create a new list and you can type in whatever you want. You'll see I have a long list and I have a short list on a different account because yes, I'm that big of a nerd. I've got multiple Trade Ideas accounts. I have some other lists as well. So then what you can do is you can take those lists, and this is just a regular alert window, just like anything else. You can go and you can enter whatever alerts you're interested in. You can put in whatever filters you're interested in, and then you can just click on lists, and on this box here, you'll click only the following symbols, and I clicked long, right? So it's linked to that long list. So now not only will only stocks that meet a certain intraday criteria come through this window, but only stocks on that list that display that intraday criteria will enter, right? So I've basically used Trade Ideas. I've sat down and I said, okay, Trade Ideas, sort the entire universe of stocks. Let's find 10 good longs, 10 good shorts to watch. Now from there, I want to put that into alert window and I want to say, okay, well, only show me those if these happen. And then from there, you can either do one of two things. If you're a pure discretionary trader, you just sit down, you watch the windows. When they tell you to look at something, you look at something, right? The rest of the day, you just wait. Or for myself, I feed those into an auto trading bot, like the one Trade Ideas has for Interactive Brokers, and I say, okay, trade these with, put a small stop on it, put a big profit target on it, hold it till the end of the day, and then sell it by the end of the day. And again, if you go back through the videos, I won't do a summary today because I didn't share this list, so there's no kind of benefit to you guys, but you'll see most days where I show building the list, I'll show what happens intraday and how the bot kind of traded it from there. So I hope that's a good explanation of what we're going to do, and to if anyone's here, kind of what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. What I'll do is I'll usually ramble on any questions. Just put it in the chat window. I'll answer them as I go. And then at the end, if we're done, we'll summarize the list, and any more questions, we'll shoot the shit for a bit, and then we'll take off. And that's usually how things go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the short side, and I'm going to start with the list of things that I had on watch for hey, Mike C. We're going to look at the watch list that I had on. I'll quickly mention kind of if there was trades and what. And basically I just do this because if I had something on watch for short yesterday and the chart looked more like, if it looked, you like it at 10 and it dropped down to 8, you might as well look at it the next day type thing, right? Partly for laziness, and partly for, if I found the thing before, maybe it's still interesting now. So kind of what I was looking for in ABBV was kind of a pro gap down here, and then a bounce up, and then looking for a failure from that. And the bot shorted somewhere around here. We just chopped around all day, and then had a nice little move at the end of the day. I'm actually going to leave this one on the list because it still kind of has that look, that gap down, tried to refill the gap, failed. So I think this could continue to move tomorrow. CCI was just a simple overdone type of play. This thing is just kind of run up last 5 days in a row, straight up to nearing this $100 mark. I figure if we get close to 100, maybe there's some resistance in there, and we just pop back. Again, I'm a day trader, so I'm only looking for a one-day move. So we're going to put this one back on the list there. CERN was kind of what I was looking for in ABBV, where it had broken down out of a base, bumped up to retest. Fortunately, the bot got me in here. It fell down a bit, and when it came back up, I got out flat, and you can see it would have closed the day about where I bought it anyway, so just chop on that. I don't think I'm going to leave this one back in. It's holding up a little bit more if you scroll out a bit on the intraday chart. It's been holding these support areas, so I'm not too concerned with that. QCOM, I like this big topping tail. I like the fact that it tried to come into the gap and failed. I'm going to add this back in on COM. It looks like it's just finding resistance up through here. This one didn't trade, but what I'll basically tell it to do is that I want to short kind of anywhere in this area or this area if we get a pop up into it and then we start to sell back down through. CPN did not trigger, but was just an oversold or overbought play, right? Up about 40% in 4 or 5 days, looking for 1 day of pullback. So we're gonna add that in too. Man, we might not need to do much scanning. A lot of stuff from the list. Mass, I just looked at this kind of top smash down. This one did trigger, but oh my god, nothing happened. I think I got in at like 03 and it went to 13 and it went to 93 and then it closed right where it was. So that was just a waste of buying power, that one. PGR was the good one from Friday. Had it on the short list for just overdone in these 2 days. And there was some intraday resistance here. On this little spike up and reversal, the bot got in around there. Kind of chopped around most of the day and then sold a fair amount. So I think that was the only like real standout trade. RAI did not get filled, and that doesn't look good anymore. That actually looks strong, if anything else. Had this one kind of reversal day and then said, nope, away it goes. TWX, I was looking for resistance at the gap. I think this one triggered and then just chopped sideways all day, so I killed it. And ZTS, I was just trying to play the resistance area up here. I did get short in through here and a nice little pullback, but that nice pullback was only like 30 cents. So, all right, bring this in again. So the stocks we're going to keep are these 4. Again, I'll go through the entire list when I'm done. But one of the reasons I do that is now I'm halfway done, right? I pretty much cut myself off at 10 longs and 10 shorts, just because if I have a day where absolutely nothing works, I want to make sure that it's not, 100 things that don't work. Because if you've ever traded before, you know there are days where just you can't do anything right. So I'm going to go through some of these scans. Some of them I can share, some of them I can't because there's custom formulas. I will tell you the custom formulas, but it'll be up to you to build them. So just shout out if you have any questions or if there's anything that you see that you want. I'm going to start out with this scan in the corner here. This is something I built with custom formulas that just looks for topping tail candles. Right? Things with just giant wicks on them. And for my support resistance, overbought, oversold play, I'm going to look for those either at resistance areas or things that are just insane. And then also, let me bring in this window, which I know is often forgot about by a lot of traders, but I think is very cool that Trade Ideas has, where it's just kind of summarizing everything you want to know, and you can customize this however you want. For me, I want to look at volume and then relative volume, right? So is that, if that was 1 million shares and that was 100 times normal volume, then I know that if it gets back to normal volume tomorrow, there's none, so I'm not interested. I want to look at Smart Stop. This is a Trade Ideas kind of suggested stop. I try to risk, 25 cents to make 50 is kind of my playground. So I'll look to see if this is anywhere close to that. I'll also look at the average true range to see if there's enough kind of juice in the stock. You can short float, change since Jan 1, today's range, days to cover, all that's kind of cool stuff. But I'm basically focusing on this. And then again, I'm going to look at the pattern on the daily. I'm going to go into the intraday chart and I'm going to measure some of these candles to see if, my 25 cent stop is logical. And then I'm going to look at this last. So that's kind of the order of which I'm looking at things. So for this, for example, I like the pattern, but if I just measure, say, this 5-minute candle, right, closed at $14, up here is $14.70, right? So 70 cents in about 5 minutes is way, way more than the 20 cents I'd want to risk. So even if I was right on direction on that one, I'd probably just get stopped out anyway. Something that's really overlooked, I think, by a lot of traders is, making sure that you're trading a stock that is appropriate for you. I'll see new traders come in and maybe they're right on direction, but they're trading a stock they need to risk, a 1.5 on to be right. And it's, you're not going to be that accurate, right? Now, when you're better, and you're able to risk 1 point to make 3, then go right ahead. But again, for me personally, I look more for something that I could see myself maybe getting $1 on and only have to risk 20-25 cents to do it. Because if you go through the back VODs, there was a lot of days that I showed up and I said, all right, guys, so today I was right 50% of the time, but it was a fantastic day, and this is why. And then you see, oh, okay, right? When he was wrong, he lost 20 cents, and when he was right, he made 60 cents. So, of course, if you can get those kind of numbers, then it's great. It doesn't really matter if you're right or not. That's Lumber Liquidator's looking interesting, but that moves too much. ED, there's just way too much of a spread on that. And at the same note, I guess, right, I looked at BVRY, and then I noticed that this whole move is 10 cents, right? So sometimes you look at it, and it's completely the other way around, where instead of saying, oh, this is kind of too volatile for my trading style, you look at that and you say, well, shit, even if I was right, I'm not going to make any money anyway, so I'm just going to leave that alone. I think we're going to put Ash on here. There's a bit of resistance kind of up in this area, right? If you just look through there. And at the same time, it's been real strong from 60 to 65 in just 4 or 5 days. So let's add this one here. And then you'll see me do stuff like this where I'm just moving my mouse up and down up here. And that's because I looked at that and I said, okay, that's 85 cents. And then the top of that wick is 65.09. So, you're 25 cents thereabouts. Actually gives you a lot of room to be wrong before if it starts moving in your direction. I know I'm cycling back between these two a lot, but basically this one here is our topping tail one. We're going to go through this first if I don't get distracted again. And then the other one is an overbought, oversold. One just using Bollinger Bands. And then here I have overbought, oversold using RSI. And then here I have stocks that close at the low of the day and stocks that close at the high of the day. And right now, for the stuff that I think the market is doing, these are great. But as I told the guys who hang out regularly before, that's going to change. If I start thinking that we're going to start getting momentum, say the news gets even more insane, you know, the impeachment or something like that, then what I'll start doing is you'll see a lot of these get dropped and other ones replace them, and there'll be more momentum type stuff. We're going to put CSX on here, and it was the same kind of look that we were looking at ABBV, where, right, we had this drop and sell out of a base, and then we've climbed back up, and we put a nice topping tail into the base here. I don't want too many of stocks that look like this, because if you note, the market also kind of looks like this as well. So you don't want to... I don't want to be trading the market, right? I want to be trading individual securities, right? So WDC, same kind of look, but I'm picking ones that are hitting their head on that resistance. Yeah, so that's why I think I'm going to abandon this list. Sometimes it's very important you have multiple scans, and this is one good reason why. My topping tail scan is insane, but when you go and you just put in the SPY, right, you can see that we had a pretty decent topping tail in the SPY. So of course a lot of securities that move slowly with the market are going to look like that. So again, what this scan is here, this might make a little bit more sense, but it's things that are just outside their Bollinger Bands, right? So let me bring in... And I'm not an indicator guy. You see that I love the trade ideas charts. I think they're nice and clean looking. So I'm not a guy who thinks that you need moving averages or indicators or anything like that. But a lot of people do look at them, right? So if I put in LL, right, we can see here this blue line is the Bollinger Band. So you can see that it closed outside that. So I don't need to put them on a chart because I know they're there, right? So I know it's something that people look at, so I know this is technically overbought. So then I don't need them here to look at them because they're not going to show up on the list if they don't meet that criteria anyway. Right? If that makes sense. This ATHM is pretty overbought up here, but it's just a little too volatile for what I'm after. Let's add that one in there. I might just put a wider stop on that one. I really do like the look. Yeah, so the reason I don't do these every day anymore is because the market hasn't moved in so long. I'm going to be scanning the same way, so I figure every day is going to be the same day, and I don't want to just turn on the stream to bore the crap out of the 3 dudes who are hanging out here. Len is interesting. If you look at this as kind of a little trend line in through here, it looks like it's hitting its head on that trend line. The volatility works for me too. So I'm going to add this one in here as well. We are up to 8 shorts, so we only have room for 2 more. I'm going to flip this scan, so I'll explain the difference. This top one here is outside of the daily Bollinger Band, and this bottom one here is the 60-minute Bollinger Band. So these ones in this scan here are going to be more recently oversold than these, right? So these will have strong end of days, where these just kind of have strong days in general, right? So if we click on this, you'll see that it kind of ran right until the end of the day there. The other thing I'm trying to look for too is to see which ones of those are those nickel spread guys. Unless that becomes a thing that like they're all turning into, I'm going to try to avoid them. They don't seem very nice. We were hunting this Viacom all the way down here, and we did finally get a push on it, I think on this day. Got a nice little decent trade, but that sold off for a long time before it bounced. No, so none of those are really interesting to me. WB's action was nuts this week. Man, oh man. Alright, so the last one we're going to look at is just going to be this one. And that's basically, I took things, it says closes at highs, but I just flipped this one. So it just takes things, that just basically the low price and the closing price are within like 5 or 10 cents. So let me bring the chat in here so you guys can see the questions I'm answering. So Mike C asks, what price do I normally trade? I don't care about price, and I'll tell you why. What's a volatile? Okay, so this stock, for example, right? The range of these bars are, between 50 cents and $1. So this one moves pretty dramatically, right? Whereas if you look at Costco, which is a $100 stock, right? These are only, right, the range of, not the day, but the range of the individual bars are about the same. Like if anyone's traded Costco, you guys can back me up on this, it trades like a $30 stock. It trades slow and controlled and concise. Whereas, I've traded some $2 stocks that trade like $100 stocks. So for me, the actual price isn't important. It's more of the volatility. So that's why I take a look at this and I take a look at this, right? This is going to tell me what Trade Ideas thinks I could get away with as a stop, and it caps near 75 cents. And this is going to tell me the average true range. And then when you see me hover over the 5-minute chart, it's because I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, well, if the bot took a short in here and it wanted to put the stop at the high of the day, right, that's 67 to 87. So that's only about 20 cents, so that's okay, right? And then if we go into this one, and if I said, okay, well, if the bot took a short on the low of this candle, well, the high of that candle is 81. So that's about 40 cents, right? So that's a lot wider than the other one. So this one would be more volatile to me and would be less interesting on that volatility metric. So I hope that makes sense, but the simple answer that someone who spoke simply would have told you is I'm less concerned with volatility than I am with actual price, or I'm more concerned with volatility than price. Next question is spread a concern? Do you more focus on the setup? Spread is definitely a concern, and that's why these numbers here, volume and rel volume, are on the screen. So if you don't have Trade Ideas or you're new to Trade Ideas, right, they give you the volume that was done today, and then they also give you the relative volume number, right? So that's a volume of 5 million and a relative volume of 1.76, right? And that's just, you would times that by that, or divide that by that to get your normal volume. So if, say, that was 5 million and there was a relative volume of 2, then I know that it's doing twice normal volume. So I know an average day is going to be about 2.5 million shares, right? So I keep those on to keep in mind. There's volume filters attached to all of these scans, right? So I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, well, if it's under a certain volume, don't even show me the stock, right? That's one of the things that Trade Ideas is doing. And then on top of that, I say, okay, this did 2 million shares and it was 0.95 average daily volume. So I can look at this and say, okay, well, it's going to do about 2 million shares every day. And I think that's going to be good. On top of that, the alert windows, the algos that I made with Trade Ideas to feed them into, actually has a spread indicator. So Trade Ideas has a spread indicator built in, where you can I can tell the robot, don't trade it if the spread is more than 5 cents, right? So I think spread is more of a concern to me than it would be a discretionary trader, because I'm algo trading this, so I'm not looking at the individual trades as they happen. I'm more just saying, okay, get me in if these things happen. So I'm not really able to finesse orders. We're going to put True in here. And I just like that True looked like it was going to bounce out on Friday and got smashed back down a bit. So, and there's this clear resistance area here. This one's a bit of a slow mover for me with an ATR of 60 cents. I'm hoping that if the fear came in of the people who pushed this up failed, maybe we get a little bit of an expansion there. But yeah, it's a bit of a slow mover. So yeah, spread is more of a concern to me than I think it is to most, and that's because of the algo trading. If I was discretionary trading, maybe I can finagle in on the ask if I'm shorting, and then cover to the bid if I'm buying, that type of thing. But I'm quite often not here during the day when it's even trading, or not watching it trade, so it just has to all be done automatically. We got one more short. And if any of you guys want me to look at charts, if you got any ideas, let me know. I should say now, I'm not a registered blah blah blah, and if you listen to me, that's your own damn fault, because you're dumb and I'm just some guy on the internet, and why the hell are you listening to me? That everybody puts in the front of their videos. I figure I'm in Canada, so you guys would have to come all the way up here to sue me, and really no one wants to do that, so. Alright, let's scan through this. So this particular is another overbought scan. Flip, at least 70. So everything here is overbought based off of RSI terms. So there'll be a lot of overlap between the two. Sometimes if something's overbought by one indicator, it's not by the other, or vice versa. And we're missing one, so we're going to try to look to see one more symbol to throw on there. That has a long way to fill the gap on that guy. So again, if I do this thing sometimes where I ramble incoherently for long periods of time. So if I didn't answer your question through all that, just tell me that I just rambled incoherently for a long period of time. I will try very hard not to take offense. This triple D pullback or base is looking interesting. Not yet though, I think it needs to keep going for a bit. And this is why I think if anyone wanted an argument against indicators, you could take a look at these. All of these stocks that I'm clicking through are all technically overbought. And they look completely different. Each one of them looks completely different, which is why it's hard to standardize stocks. I think old Mickey D's will be the last on our list. We've got some trendline resistance kind of up through here, a bit of expansion of range here on really no expansion of volume. Cool little double top here, sold off the rest of the day. The volatility works and technically overbought. So yeah, so why I think indicators just don't universally work is because every single stock we went through today on those lists were all technically overbought, and some of them just looked miserable. That's why I still think there is use for the trader eye. All right, so we're done with the shorts. We're going to go through the longs, and then we'll summarize things. And if there's any questions, we'll open it up to that. again, if there's any questions along the way when I'm just scanning, feel free to fire away. Give me something to talk about while I'm doing it. We're going to put DSW on here. Simple oversold play. 22 down to 17. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 red candles down in a row. HIB, we didn't get many longs on Friday, unfortunately, because it was a fairly strong day. But we got a nice short in this area, playing off this support on HIB. Moved up pretty much all day, which was fantastic. I think the bot got out most in this area. I basically sell in parts. I try to sell a large chunk, an 80% of the position, roughly, after 2 to 3 times my risk. And then from there, I just leave that last bit on, and it closes it before the end of the day. Come hell or high water, basically. I'm going to put Urban back on the list. We didn't get a trade on that. However, nice little bottoming tail down here after this strong move lower. Decent intraday action, right? The bot is basically what I feed the bot into, depending on depends on the setup, and that actually will lead into a question I just got from Mike. Is your algo time-based, 1 hour daily, etc., or is it looking for technical setups? It's looking for technical setups. So with trade ideas, you can feed in pretty much anything you want. X we're going to leave out. So let me bring this in. We only got these two, DSW and Urban, and then the list will hammer that out. So we're going to go into this one, which is the opposite of middle finger, right? It's just looking for candles with bottoming tails. So back to the question, what's my algo based off of? It depends on the setup, right? So with trade ideas, let me just go new, alert windows, start from scratch. So if we just look at the alerts, just the alerts, none of the filters behind them, you have all of these. All right, so you have tons and tons and tons of things you can look for. So what I'll look for will depend on what I want. If I'm looking for something to come down to support, what I might use is a hammer candle, right? Or an engulfing candle, or sometimes these bottoming tails and topping tails, right? I'll say, okay, well, I want a 15-minute bottoming tail in this area. And I know what's going to happen is sometimes I'm going to miss setups that were fantastic because they didn't have this specific setup, but I'll program in what I want to see happen the next day, and if it doesn't happen, it just won't take it, right? So if I'm looking for a more momentum trade, I love these support and resistance. These are kind of algos within algos, where trade ideas hunts for stocks that have hit certain prices over and over again, but not broken. And then when it does break, it will alert that it's crossed below support. So depends on what I'm looking for. So they'll vary based off of kind of what I want to see based on based on whatever stock. So, but yeah, it's all technical, pattern based. I might look for, say I might want 3 15-minute candles down in a row and then it to make a new 15-minute high. Something like that, if I wanted the stock to pull back and then bounce. I think I'm going to put this D on here. Very interesting. We had this bottoming tail happened, and we had this strong close, which is right at this resistance area. So this might be something where I'm more inclined, instead of saying I want you to pull back and then show strength and buy it, I might just say, okay, well, I think trade ideas will look at this as resistance. So I might just say, okay, if it breaks resistance, go nuts. And then I also put time filters on there as well, where I don't like to really have my setups happen in the first half hour, and then really not after lunch, right? So I trade say 10 to 1 New York time is when all the entries will occur, and then he'll just sit on them all day until profit targets happen or until stop losses happen, basically. So again, if you go back, I would say I'm right on these 60% of the time, maybe, not much more. But again, it doesn't matter, right? Because I don't need to worry about how my brain will react if the first 3 trades are losers, because it's all being done automatically. So if the first 3 trades are losers and then the next one's a winner for 3 to 4 times that, the bot's just going to do that robotically anyway. So I'm going to add Johnson & Johnson in here. We had this big strong move higher and then a nice little pullback. Pretty decent floor here yesterday that also can correspond with this area. So this might be something where I say, okay, if it comes down to this area and then starts to bounce, pick it up, just because I could see us continuing tomorrow. Wicked volume on this one, of course, and then a pretty decent average shoe range as well. So, if I'm looking to make 50 cents and it does about $1 in ATR, then I'm not really getting too greedy. I'm only looking for about half that. And that's always one thing to look at too. You don't want to get super greedy and say, yeah, I want to make 50 cents and the stock does 25 cents on average a day, right? It's like, not only are you trying to be right on direction, you're trying to be right on direction and hoping everyone gets a little bit crazy on the thing and pushes it double normal what it does, right? Which, if you're looking at gaps or something, ATR doesn't make a whole lot of sense to watch. But if you're looking at these kind of technical type plays, then ATR is definitely one to watch. ATR for entry or exit? No, again, just to watch it. I do have a filter in my algos that say, okay, if it's done more than, I think, 75% of its ATR, don't get me in, right? Like if it moves $1 on average a day, if the thing's already dropped 75 cents on the day, I'm not really interested because on average it's only got 25 cents to go. So I do have that built, but again, ATR is just a way for me to quickly see, does this thing have enough juice to make it worth my while, right? Does it have enough juice to be interesting to trade? Oh, these are the wrong. So we're going to configure, and again, for anyone who didn't know, any trade ideas window you right click in, you can click and configure, and you can do whatever you want in there, and then you can just hit the flip button, and that will flip all the indicators. So this same scan was just looking at oversold stuff or overbought stuff, and just by clicking that button, I made it look for oversold. So it saves screen real estate. I don't have a command center. I don't have those 18 monitors. I don't think anyone needs them. I've got 2 basic monitors, and basic desk on a basic computer. So doing little tricks like that to save some screen real estate is fantastic. So counter trend ATR, no, I don't use it for counter trend. I use it for, when I'm looking at a stock, right? Again, I'm a guy who wants to risk 25 cents to make 50 cents to 75 cents, right? Or risk 20 cents to make 60 cents. It doesn't make sense for me to look at things that only move 10 cents a day, right? So I just use the ATR number as a quick guide to say, if my bot got in it somewhere in the middle of the range and then is going to ride it for a bit and get out, is there any money there for me to make, right? I got a question. What's the success rate for the support and resistance option? Can you elaborate that in a bit more? I can elaborate. The success rate is going to have entirely to do with where that support and resistance break took place, right? Where, on what security did it take place? No worries, Mike. That's what I do when I scan. And again, I do some private one-on-one mentoring, and I do Trade Ideas affiliate. So if you're looking at Trade Ideas and you click on the link below, it saves you a couple bucks and puts a couple in my pocket as well. Let's go all the way up here. Let's start from the top. So the support and resistance options. So in Trade Ideas, under new alert windows, they have a support alert here, right? If I just click this and I go add alert and I just go okay, and I just show the last trading day, and let's just pick a stock at random, right? It's looking at something that does a lot of volume. That's clear. All right, here we go. So it looked basically, man, there's an angry, very tiny dog outside the window. So it looked at this area here, and it saw this as support. And this little blue arrow corresponds with the time that this went through, this alert. So Trade Ideas basically used its internal data to say, okay, well, it can't get below this area, whatever it is, 153.43. So when it finally broke through resistance on that little tail there, Trade Ideas alerted the stock and said, okay, this is breaking through resistance. That's basically all it is, a little algo within that. Now, if you just said, I want to look at everything that breaks through resistance, you're going to get, like, look at all these alerts. And there's some filters on this to make sure that it's doing a lot of volume, right? So if you were to do this on every stock in the market, you're going to get a billion results. So, you know, where the support and resistance works, so the success rate that you asked for, it has to do with more of the whole picture than it does just that little bit, right? So what I'm doing right now is I'm looking at stocks using Trade Ideas to filter it all down. And then intraday, I'll use Trade Ideas to define what's support and what's resistance and to take trades off of that. So, you know, just like anything, if something is breaking support, it doesn't mean it's going to go down. You're right. It's, you know, looking at just an intraday technical setup without programming the rest of it around is foolishness as far as I'm concerned, right? You need to do a bit of everything. So, we're going to add in GILD down here. A bit oversold, right? Kind of within this topping tail. Looking at the intraday support, we can kind of see a level here around 64, give or take. Got a question. Have you tried to divide the smart stop with the ATR in a custom formula? Not only that, I've tried using it with an algorithm, and I may or may not, because I don't give away my algorithms, have something based off that, where it's looking for things that have a big ATR and a really small stop. So yeah, so there is merit there. However, for me, I'm just using all of this stuff with Trade Ideas simply to filter out, and then I'm using my eye, right? So, you know, I try very hard not to get into very detailed specifics when I'm doing this part, because I have a lot of, and if you go back on the YouTube channel, there's a lot of videos of the robot live trading them and doing that type of thing, that are just algorithms, that are just 110% numbers. That's all they are. They're looking 100% at the numbers, and if the numbers correspond with things that worked, you know, way back in the day, then it just takes the trade, right? 100% on numbers. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to combine the two, right? The intraday criteria is all on numbers. The stocks that I'm putting in, I'm trying to use the eye that I've kind of made from doing this for staring at charts for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours, right? I'm going to put in MDCO here. Big sell-off from 55. I kind of fighting with this, where is this area in through here, right, where it bounced yesterday, bounced today, and then just kind of chopped around. So yeah, this is the hybrid style. The programmers I'm working with to build a bot with the prop firm that I'm partnered with, which if you're outside of the US and you want to talk to me about that, we're a prop firm that we fully fund and take on the risk for traders in a percentage of the profit. So you don't give us like a risk deposit or anything like that. So we only make money when you make money. So basically my role with the prop firm is to teach new traders and coach them and talk to them when they're having troubles and that type of thing. And in return for doing all that, we split the profit with you basically. So if you're interested in that, let me know. I may have lost where I was before that. Oh, the bot that we're building. So they call this the RoboCop trading. I freaked out one night and wrote them a long email about how I think this could be the future, which I still think it could be, of trading, right? Where you do all the work at the end of the day, and then it does all the work during the day. So yeah, we coined it as the RoboCop trading. So this is a hybrid style. So because of that, I do things a little bit different than I would if it was just flip and okay. If I just wanted to do everything purely by the numbers, right? See, this is one of the reasons that I put the relative volume up here, because this did almost 1 million shares. So I'm looking at it and say, okay, well, that's interesting, but that's 2.2, right? So its average volume is under 400,000 shares. So although this is oversold, put in a little bottoming tail, has a little support here at 1050, I just think it will trade a bit too gross for me. And since the bot's handling all the work, I definitely want to make sure I want to make sure that there's smooth entries and exits, right? Which is it better sort the most liquid stocks? Average number of prints or average volume? I'd say average volume. The important thing to note, though, with averages, with all averages, average volume and the like, maybe. I'm going to put in CHRW there, just for an oversold stock into supportish here. One thing to note with averages, right? So all of these have volume filters in it, but none of them are average volume. They're just volume done today. And the reason I'm kind of avoiding average volume is because what if the stock, generally speaking, does 499,000 shares, and I put an average volume of 500,000 shares. That's my cap. But today, it did 10 million shares. And something technically that I wanted to see. Well, the fact that the average volume is under 499,000 shares, I don't want to exclude that entirely, right? I want to say, okay, well, it did something interesting today, so let me take a look at it. So I generally like to use volume today. Now, when you use that, you also need to take a look at, okay, did it just do one spurt of volume today and it's probably going to die tomorrow? Or the other way around, right? what if I don't want to catch the extraordinary? Just I want to see stocks that are liquid all the time. I would take the longest. I think Trade Ideas has up to 20 days average daily volume. I would just simply take the longest average daily volume, and you put anything over 1.5 million shares there, you're probably fine. Chico's looks interesting, but I noticed that that's retail as well, and I already have Urban and DSW, so I'm just not going to add any more retail in there. And one thing I look for is this, and I know it's going to be sexist to say right now, but I bet you a shoes store and a women's clothing store are pretty well correlated. Again, I'm up here in Canada, so you guys have got to come get me if you want to beat me up. And, if I just end up putting on 10 retailers, 10 clothing stores as stocks to trade, well, then I might as well have just put on the retail index as a stock to trade, right? There's no, I hate to say diversity because we're day traders. But, if I'm looking for these trades, I'm not going to want to trade tons of different stuff, right? I'm going to want to trade an assortment of things, not tons of the same exact security, right? So Macy's here may look interesting, but it just can't go on the list. So far, finding longs has been incredibly difficult, and I don't know if that's something, if that means anything to anybody, but that is interesting. There's not a lot in the oversold category right now. Not a lot that looks good anyway. See, that one's borderline. Oh no. And this is another reason why I always have a daily or a 5-minute chart. Right? There's gaps here. And there's a little gap here. Anything that has a gap in an intraday chart, I very much try to avoid. So question, what does the bot exactly do? And is it for proprietary use only? The one that I am building is the one that Trade Ideas has. If you're not a Trade Ideas member, link in description, plug, sellout, blah, blah, blah. It basically just takes... Here, let me get something for you. And I'm going to run this off screen because I keep forgetting that there might be very new Trade Ideas members here who don't know a lot of what it can do. I know a lot of people are here for the AI, which is a great tool. I just think there's other tools as well. We're going to put in AKAM, tools that I actually like better. So what I did on this screen is I took an alert window, and you can right click and you can click backtest strategy, and this window pops up where you can customize entry times, how long it will hold the trade, right? What it will risk, what it will try to make, how long you want to backtest for, and then this is just a little language summary. If you hit sell, you get this thing here, right? When this is done running, which is why I did it on the other screen because sometimes it takes a while, is you get this guy here. And essentially what this does is it backtests this strategy, right? So it goes back through this alert window. And let's bring this up. So these are the stuff that would have triggered yesterday if I had run this strategy. Let's look at LL. And we can put a number here. So it would have tried to take a short. And no, this particular is proprietary, before anyone asks. It would have taken a short at 71. Right up in here, and it would have sold 15 minutes later for about a 50-cent gain somewhere in here, or covered somewhere in there, right? So what this window here is doing is it's taking every single trade that happened and it's saying, okay, what if I took this trade, and we can see the summary here, anywhere between, now this is my time, so say 10 and 3, covered 30 minutes after the entry, had a 25-cent stop, a 50-cent target, and did that. So every time a stock comes through here, or the first time to be particular, a stock comes through here, it takes a short. So it would try to short at 1524. If it gets filled, it will put out a 25-cent stop, a 50-cent profit target. It will start a countdown timer for 30 minutes. At the end of 30 minutes, it covers the position at whatever you want to see. And then again, at the end of the day, right, this is what would happen. So you can click, right, I can click on, say, the 18th, and these are all the trades that took place. So if I was trading 100 shares, right, on this particular trade, here would be the entry, here would be the exit, and 100 shares is $50, right? So Trade Ideas has the ability to do that with its backtester, and that's essentially the core behind Holly. What the bot does, and I don't know how far I can look at this, but right now with Trade Ideas, this is built into the system and works with Trade Ideas. And what you can do is you can go through and you can put these windows into here and link it to Interactive Brokers through an API. And then what you're going to tell it is every time a symbol comes through this window, well, sorry, the first time a symbol comes through this window, I want you to short me, say 100 shares on a limit, blah, blah, blah. You specify all the entry criterias if you, right? So basically exactly what the backtester does. When you get filled, this is the stop, this is the target, hold for this period of time, then cover out. So it will basically do the same instructions that you fed into that window. You know, and then you can actually, I think, and again, I use not this, I use my own, but I think you can actually, yeah, you can trade right from this as well through Interactive Brokers. So again, my bot does the same thing, but it does it with my prop firm's proprietary trading software. And if you've ever traded with prop firm software, you know that they're not the best. They're usually pretty dated. So we had to get to work building that, but it's a really large prop firm outside of the US, really big in, we're going to put Hog on here. Good intraday support. Yeah, the prop firm's really big and works with anyone outside of the US. So my goal at the end of this is to be able to pay the programmers that I'm paying to build it with the profits from it. So we're going to license it out as well. But again, it's a system to connect this backtesting software to another piece of software to send out orders, which again would be what someone who speaks concisely would have told you right off the bat. So we are on 8 for long ideas, so we've got 2 more. Yeah, so it's just, you know, it says bot, it sounds complicated, but it's basically just think about it. If the way I look at this style of trading is I am the hedge fund manager, quote unquote, and the robot is the execution manager, right? So I come out and I look at the execution trader and I say, hey, guy, buy me 100 shares of Apple if these type of things happen. And because if you didn't know how hedge funds work, is they have execution traders, and what an execution trader does is just that. The portfolio manager will say, okay, we need 100,000 shares of Apple to add to our portfolio. I need it by the end of the day, and I want it under $150, right? And what he'll do is he'll go through and look through and say, okay, well, I'm going to try to buy this if and when these things sell back. But the portfolio manager isn't doing that, right? He's assigning that solely to his execution trader to do. Keep scrolling down here. So that's basically what the quote-unquote bot is. It's that execution trader. It's the thing that kind of just takes care of, and we're going to put WBA on. So it takes care of the intraday trading, whereas right now what I'm doing is I'm taking care of the portfolio management, for lack of a better term, where I'm telling it exactly what I want it to trade the next day if certain things are met. So I hope that made sense as an explanation. All right, so that is 10 long as well. So let me update this list. And what you'll notice is these top lists here, if I right click on them, they're essentially just fed into where here, Symbolist, the lists that we built over on the other screen. So these will update shortly with what's going on here. So I'm going to just do a quick summary of what we're looking at. Then we'll go into any questions after that. So for short, we're looking at ABBV. We had a little gap down, pro gap, people call it, where you get, you know, a strong move one way and then the gap kind of erases that entire move. Basically just means that there's a bunch of people here that are pissed off, everyone who bought through these days. Then ever since then, we've just had a bunch of topping tails up in this area, and a lot of resistance kind of around 66. So I'll be looking again to see if the bot is if the bot's going to find a short through there. ASH, simple oversold play with a lot of kind of intraday resistance at the 65 area. Just couldn't really hold too far above. ATHM, just straight oversold from 28.60 to 43 bucks. Pretty much straight shot. Again, as intraday traders, we're just looking for one pullback day. CCI, same type of move. Calm. We like the fact that we had this gap down, we ran up into a resistance area here, and every time we've tried to get over this 37.50 area, we've had a pretty sharp rejection from that. So we're going to look for the same type of thing to happen. CPN, simple overbought, right? Up 50% in a handful of days. I think we had a pretty good trade on it in through here, if memory serves me. So now that it's breaking out to new highs, maybe we look for another one again. CSX, gap down, come back to fill the gap, rejection from that. Nice intraday resistance there. LEN, trend line, resistance in through here. Oh, delete. McDonald's was simple overbought and true. We kind of like that, the fact that it had this bull flag where it gapped up or pushed up and then base sideways, had a little pop over this base and then got slammed back down. So we're hoping for a continuation of that weakness Tuesday, I guess. AKAM, simple oversold, but has had a fair amount of support near 47. So we're just going to hope that support holds. Again, you'll notice a lot of these look fairly similar, right? Like CHRW, oversold, intraday support in through here. D, this area up through here on D is very interesting. And we had a push down in the morning on Friday, and then it just chopped up all day to close right at highs. So another kind of run through this could have some good follow through. DSW, just oversold. Gilead, oversold at support. HIG is not supposed to be HIG. That's another reason I take another look through. HIG is supposed to be HOG. That's why it's good to double check your work. And same type of deal. We have some support around 52.50 and a bit oversold. Johnson & Johnson, a nice bull flag here. Strong move up, and then we've kind of been chopping slowly down, but really not trying to retake even the 50% mark of this bar. So holding very strong there. MDCO, strong pullback and some decent support kind of in this 42.75 area. Urban, oversold and a nice little bottoming tail, and WBA just hanging out right at this support area where it's bounced there and there. So maybe if we get a push down into here and a bounce, we'll get a bounce there. So that is the list for the next trading day. I'll hang out, open up to any questions you guys got, and if there are no questions, I'll take off. So I know you guys are on a little bit of a delay, so probably 30 seconds after I say something is when you guys hear it. So if you can just let me know when if there are any questions, or if there's not, we'll call it a day. So what's my experience using the Trade Ideas bot? I haven't used the one built inside Trade Ideas. So I trade with a prop firm. That's why I'm building my own. I like prop firm trading. As a Canadian, you don't need to write any crazy licenses or anything like that. You get a lot of margin for not a lot of money up front. But that's just, I think, personal preference. So I haven't used their bot in particular. I will say that the bot that I'm building is based closely, not exactly, but closely to the Trade Ideas bot, and that works well. I haven't heard any complaints. I do a lot of mentoring of students, kind of one-on-one, about building algos, plugging them into a bot, auto trading, that type of thing. And I haven't heard any complaints yet. People seem happy. It is still a beta project, right? They're still testing it and working through and that type of thing. So, right, keep that in mind that it is a beta. But again, I haven't heard any complaints. So, it seems pretty easy to use. As long as it enters orders is all it has to do. So, that is to say, if you're a fan of Interactive Brokers, right? That has to be the thing, is you are limited to brokers. I don't know how they are in the States. I know in Canada, Interactive Brokers is pretty well liked for intraday trading. Fairly cheap commissions, customer service, okay. Decent buying power, that type of thing. But if you really like the broker you're with and it's not Interactive Brokers, then that bot won't work for you. So, all right, is there any more questions? Chat has been fairly slow today, but I don't mind hanging out for a little bit if anyone has anything to ask. All right, well, I think that's everything. I may do a wrap-up after we see kind of what happens with these trades. Generally, if I do them pretty closely following the close, either immediately after the close or like 30 minutes after. Again, the best way to find out when I will be streaming is Twitter, which I'll post there. You won't have to worry about hearing about pictures of my cat, seeing what I had for lunch, anything like that. Pretty much we'll just tell you when I'm going live next or when I've uploaded a video. As well, I think is if you subscribe, it sends you a notification. So check out one of those things. Fire me an email if you've got any questions. And again, if you're interested in trade ideas, there's a link to save a few bucks below there. So have a good long weekend, guys, and trade safe out there.